How did you first get involved with Mary's Place? What was your role?
I was hired in 1999 to start a women's day center. That was 24 years ago, and it's been an incredible journey since then.
Can you take us through that journey?
Oh, absolutely. Mary's Place has been standing in the gap for 24 years, and over that time, we really have asked a lot of questions, and we've been asked a lot of questions. Especially like when we started our day center, we went out and asked women a lot of questions about what they wanted in a day center. And I had the privilege of visiting every single women's shelter in the evening, in the daytime, and bringing women inside and asking them specifically, what is it that you would like to have in a day center to meet your needs? And I can remember the women saying things like, I just want a place where I'll be called by name, not, hey, you, stupid, or get a job. I want a place where they serve coffee with real caffeine because the other day center did not serve caffeinated coffee. Uh, and they would say things like, I want a place where I can give back for all that's been given to me. Others would share that they wanted an address so that they could get their mail. Others wanted access to a phone where they could call their daughter or their grandchildren. Others wanted just to make sure that the address they had wasn't the one that everybody in the city knew because employers knew it and they were unable to get employed when they gave that address. And I think for others, I can remember them saying, I just want a place like Fred Meyer's, a place where you can go and get everything in one place. And so that's what they did. They banded together. They designed this program in 30 days. They listed out all of the resources they wanted, from healthcare to being able to get benefits on site, to get bras and panties that they were wanting, to make sure they could have an address and real coffee. And in 30 days, they built it, and it continues today, 24 years later. So that was, it's been kind of a remarkable journey where the women's needs really were the whole premise and the foundation for Mary's Place was built on that experience, right? Where your needs were noted as the most beautiful, wonderful part of who you are. And those needs to be loved, those needs to be safe, those needs to belong were met there at Mary's Place. And we practiced asking to get those needs met together. Quite an incredible journey. And then I would say, over the years, we started being asked really tough questions. Things like, Mom, it's cold. Can we come inside? Dad, I don't feel so good. Can I lie down? Granny, can the school bus find us in our car? And the one we hear most often throughout the years has been, Mom, when are we going home? And Mary's Place has worked really hard with a data-informed approach with best practices to be able to answer those questions. And we do that by listening to our guests and hearing those needs and then asking the community to step up and respond. And we've done that with really cost-effective and efficient methods to make sure that there are shelters for families to come inside, that Granny can say, yes, you do have a ride to school even though we're living in our car. And yes, Mom will say, we will go home, but it'll be a new home and it's going to take us a minute. So, and we know that that's been a tough journey for all these families, but all in all, we've moved over hundreds and hundreds of families to more stable housing. And then I will say, with all of those questions came, we opened our first shelter. About 2010, we opened up with 21 faith congregations and we rotated from church to church. It was amazing. The congregations were so receptive and warm and inviting, and they did so much work. They would come and pick up our guests. We had a 15 passenger van and we had seats for 14 moms and kids. And so this is how we started Family Shelter. And so they loaded them up every day with a volunteer driver with all their belongings. They took them to the church or the congregation or the synagogue, and they rested there at night, and they brought them back to the day center in the morning. And it was an incredible journey that lasted 8 years, thousands and thousands of bed nights. The churches washed the blankets and fed all the meals and provided activities. It was really a transformative change for Mary's Place to rise up and meet that need in the community. But shortly after we opened that first shelter, that first rotating shelter, I can remember it was Thalia. She was 7 years old, and she came to us repeatedly and kept saying, "Why does my dad have to sleep outside? He's so cold. He just needs a bed inside. Can't he come inside too?" And so lo and behold, the next shelter we opened, we included dads. We opened Julia's Place, and it was an incredible opportunity to make sure that families could stay together. But it didn't stop there. We got more questions, right? There was opportunities for us to bring in more, to develop housing. We rented a house, I will say, that was donated to us by Vulcan. And we opened up a house it was really for immigrant and refugee families who wanted to live together in community. And so that became an incredible gift. And then we actually ended up transferring all of that to Madrona Presbyterian, where we had this 20 tents inside a congregation in the basement that went for quite a long time in that space as well, housing 2 parent families in that shelter. And then I can remember another transformation of what happened was one of our staff was at a bus stop across the street from a school. It was about 6 a.m. in the morning, and a dad named Patrick and his son Mason, that was 5, who was just in kindergarten, was eating a chocolate bar. And she kind of got on the bus with them, and they sat close together, and he looked at her and he said, please don't judge me. I know my son's eating a chocolate bar for breakfast, but it's all I have. And she said, "Oh no, I'm not judging you, but I can't help. We have something better than a chocolate bar. If you want to come to Mary's Place with me, that's where I work." And she explained what it was, and they went there together, and he came in and he shared, "Listen, I've been calling all the shelters across the state. I've even called the television stations. I've called the police stations, the fire stations, just asking everyone, where can I bring my son inside? And there just isn't a place for him." And so we went to work. We got Mason and Patrick a hotel, and we worked together to get them into housing. And Patrick got back his plumber's license, which was an incredible gift. And then the next shelter we opened, which was called Bianca's Place in a PIMCO building, again, another building slated for demolition, but Mary's Place had now perfected that model of moving in, and that was the first time we opened it up to single dads. So now we were serving single moms, 2 parent families, and single dads with kids. But it didn't stop there, right? I can remember after that we met John Shetler, and it was a pretty amazing conversation that we had when we met each other in 2016, and we began to talk about what was possible. And John asked us some really big questions. He was like, "Hey, do you have a big dream of how you can ensure no child sleeps outside?" And we were like, "Oh yeah, we have a great dream, right? We know what we want to do." He's like, "Have you ever written it down?" And he was like, "Do you know how much it costs?" And we were like, "We'll get back to you." And we went to work right away, and we developed a 5-year strategic plan and a path forward of what it would cost and what it would take, what resources, what the logistics would cost us in getting a fleet of vehicles to do all of the things, to bring all of the meals, to do all of the laundry, and to make sure we had enough buildings and space in these buildings that were slated for demolition. And we created the 5-year plan, and we brought it back to him. He goes, "I love this." And he showed it to Jeff, and Jeff loved it. And that started our journey, and they gave us a hotel the former Travelodge, and we opened that Travelodge, which doubled our capacity at the time. We went from 200 beds to 400 beds, which was a huge lift for Mary's Place, right? But it also came with a lot of support. And I'll never forget getting an email from Jeff Bezos on a Saturday morning about 10 o'clock. And it said, hey, I know your luncheon's in 3 days, but I would like to offer $1 million match. And if you can match that, then you could use that for your operations of this new building. And so we were like, what? Of course we wanted to do that. But I will tell you, the board and I got together. Oops, sorry, Mona. Sorry, good stuff. Back at it. So we were also excited, and we were a lot a bit scared. We had never raised $1 million in 1 year, let alone 3 days. But the board and the staff, we all got on the phones. We started calling people, getting pledges and support. And you know what? We did it. We raised that $1 million. We were able to scale and keep bring in 200 more family members and sustain the operations of that building. And it was quite a gift. And the love has continued to come from Amazon in life-saving gifts in ways that we could never have imagined. And I'll never forget that first building on that first day when we opened. Gio, who was 6 years old, and his mom, he was waiting for his 7th heart surgery, had come into the building. And they were embarrassed because they'd been living in the car for weeks and just trying to get Gio healthy to get that 7th surgery. And they wanted to go up and take a shower, and they did. And they came down, and they were just so grateful, thankful for the shower, and they were just chatty. And Gio was running around, high-fiving everybody. And we just said, I can't believe that you were outside waiting for surgery. I said, we had no idea. She goes, oh, you think we're the only ones? There's a whole car camp of us, and we're all just waiting to get our miracles, but we want to be with our children. And it's so hard to keep them healthy in the car. And so we immediately went to work, and we asked John, we let him know that this is what we wanted to do in the building, was to dedicate space for families with medically fragile children and chronic health issues. He said, absolutely, we're behind you 100%. And so we did. But what we had to do was also share that this was against the King County process and policies, and that children, medically fragile children, weren't prioritized for shelter at that time. And so we asked John if he would stand behind us as we pushed to change those policies by creating this opportunity in the current building. He said, absolutely, we are behind you, beside you, in front of you, 100%. Of course we will do this. It's the right thing to do. And so that was a pivotal moment for Mary's Place, because we ended up changing the criteria, prioritizing medically fragile children that still today is known as Popsicle Place. And we grew from that first hotel of 5 rooms. We moved across the street when they gave us the next hotel at the Days Inn, and we added to 10 rooms. And then they offered to build us our forever home in downtown, and as part of the Amazon headquarters. And now we have 2 full floors dedicated to Popsicle Place. So it's been a life-saving, life-changing, life-giving for our families. So grateful, thankful for Amazon for that opportunity. Let's see. I want to say we went on to do all different types of shelter. We moved into buildings that were slated for demolition 26 times, and we called them Home for Now. Our most recent one was during the pandemic. We had lost 4 of our smaller shelters. And so we were desperate for beds as families started to be evicted after the eviction moratorium was lifted. We saw surges like the Omicron surge and families having nowhere to go. And so we ended up securing a downtown Bellevue location in a former hotel. And so that allowed us to bring in 250 more family members. It too was a life-saving gift because at the same time during the pandemic, we opened the regrade building that Amazon had given us, and that was home to 225 guests. So we were able to scale back up and make sure that there was a place for to ensure no child sleeps outside. And I'll say one of the best moments was right before the pandemic started. We reached no child sleeps outside, and we were so grateful, thankful, blessed that every family had a resource every night, and that meant that they were being they had the opportunity to come inside for shelter. They were able to go to late night programs for hoteling, or they had outreach services connected so that they were on their path and journey to housing. And all of that changed with the pandemic. And I will say now we are at a point in a crisis in our community where we've never needed more help and more support. Families are coming at a rapid rate that we've never seen before across this nation, across the state, and in our county. More and more children are sleeping outside. And so we will continue to work hard. We are excited about the journey ahead that will include prevention, trying to keep families in their hard-won homes, reducing trauma on children, reducing that generational impact. So there are so many exciting things for Mary's Place ahead, and I'm so excited to see the organization take those forward and continue the transformative, innovative change that it's known for. It's been an incredible journey, and I'm so grateful to have been a part of it. But Mary's Place belongs to the community. It's the frontline staff and the staff of Mary's Place that have really helped build and create this foundation and this level of support and love and care. But it's been the response from our community that has really met the need that we have asked for, whether it's been advocacy or giving through items or diapers and wipes or food and the incredible generous donations. We just want to say thank you for making this possible.